Let us now proceed to Congresswoman Radewagen.
Thank you, Member Manchin, for holding this hearing today. I appreciate the work the ENR committee does on behalf of American Samoa and all the territories, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to testify here today. Let me begin by saying that the initial response to the COVID-19 pandemic, at least in American Samoa, has been very positive. Both Congress and the Trump administration have made great efforts to include the territories in these massive response efforts the past few months. I've included the full funding highlights along with my written testimony, but suffice it to say, American Samoa has received well over $100 million in much needed relief funding and grants through direct aid to our local ASG operations, stimulus checks, PPP and EIDL loans, and forthcoming PUA and unemployment assistance payments, all for which we are extremely grateful. With swift bipartisan congressional funding and rapid implementation by President Trump's administration, American Samoa and the country have avoided a much worse fate in this two-sided COVID war on both the health and economic fronts. We thank God every day American Samoa has remained virus-free, but we're hardly immune to the economic fallout. We're in the same boat as the rest of the country, with disruption to our churches, schools, small businesses, and local government revenues as a result. We have had no commercial air travel to and from the island since March. So due to these logistical problems, distribution of aid has had its challenges. I'm deeply thankful to Treasury, DOI, SBA, HHS, FEMA, and the other agencies for working to overcome these long distance challenges since we're more than 7,000 miles away. So please keep us in mind as Congress considers additional measures in response to the ongoing pandemic and to promote economic recovery. There are several points I want to highlight, and my written testimony provides further details on these priority health and economic needs. More COVID testing and tracing support is needed. Continued healthcare resiliency and capacity support in the areas of testing and tracing will be needed for American Samoa to reopen safely and prepare for a future crisis. Support for CDC initiatives are vital as well. We welcomed Congress granting us full Medicaid funding formula and asked that the cap be lifted as well to attract more services and physicians. LBJ hospital improvements are needed, as the Army Corps report to Congress pointed out. We're grateful to this committee's directing DOI to study the cost of repairing and replacing our only hospital, LBJ Tropical Medical Center. The Army Corps report outlines millions are needed for LBJ's modernization. Long-term funding mechanisms need to be looked at by this committee as Congress looks at providing essential and emergency healthcare capabilities and funding for the future. An increase to the annual ASG operations at DOI OIA is needed to help us further plan and design an effective modernization in accord with the Army Corps findings. More unemployment assistance is needed. Pandemic unemployment assistance payments of $600 expired July 31. But applications locally are just now being processed since we've had no local unemployment program. So I thank Secretary Scalia and the US DOL team for their implementation efforts to date. Please include American Samoa in any modification that extends and expands the PUA payment to all our valid workers under local law. 30A extension is needed. I encourage you to support multi-year continuation of the 30A American Samoa Economic Development Credit. Our sole remaining tuna canneries, 2 others have left for cheap foreign labor. It's nearly 20% of the workforce at 3,000 plus jobs, and it relies heavily on the 30A tax credit. We cannot diversify our local economy without a 5-year minimum extension. No business will invest in a developing territory when a job creation credit expires every year and is always uncertain of being renewed. We also need 30A to be included in any stimulus tax credit provision or qualifying list under IRS Section 38 or otherwise as well. Finally, increasing highway funding formula for the territories and providing additional grant opportunities for seawall construction and safer ports should be a part of any broad infrastructure stimulus. In closing, I want to thank our governor and our healthcare workers and first responders during this crisis, and thank our military, and note that American Samoa has one of the highest rates of service in the Army per capita and the highest rate of service per capita in NFL linemen, and proudly play in college at West Virginia and all over. It takes a real tough Samoan to be a mountaineer in a lava lava. Thank you, Chairman Murkowski, Ranking Member Manchin, and committee members for your time today. God bless.
Thank you, Congresswoman.